Right. Well, I'm here with Kirk Weisler, and we just actually wrapped up a session with CalPERS leadership team and talking about the importance of being a culture warrior. And so we thought we'd sit back and ask a few questions of Kirk before he takes off. So, what is a culture warrior? Why is culture important to an organization, Kirk?
Well, I know if we really want to speak to why culture is important. Culture is, of course, the essence, the nugget, the kernel that's at the center of everything. If the culture is off the rails, then it's kind of like having a clay on a potter's wheel. That clay has to be centered. If you try and form clay and it's not in the exact center of that potter's wheel, stuff starts flipping off and the whole thing wobbles. But you get that clay centered, you get your culture centered, now you can form something really great. Being a culture warrior, what we're talking about there is not so much that you're going to war with a spear and a knife but that you're absolutely committed. And we've kind of tied things back to those Aborigines cultures where they would gather by the tribal fire, and the rituals, the traditions of telling stories and rites of passage and those things that are the essence of a great culture, and the consistency, the continuity of those things. So it's kind of that continuous. We kind of give the example of what a joke it would be to go to the gym once a year and work out, no matter if you worked out for 14 hours. If you didn't go again for another year, you're not physically fit. Same thing, you can't go build the team once a year or have some kind of recognition event once a year and expect to have great positive culture. You've got to take what culture is and what it takes to build teams and build culture, and you've got to figure out, how am I going to do something about this every day with intentionality and build traditions and rituals around building relationships, intimacy, and trust.
So what you're saying is I should go to the gym more than once a year.
Well, I think you look really fit and very athletic. So no, Keith, you're good. You're a freaking stud. So.
Most of the people we work with are not the CEO. They don't control all the reins, and they might be a team lead and have 10 people reporting to them, or they might have a division. And oftentimes we'll hear them say, well, I can't really control the culture. What's your thoughts about that?
I think they should sit back and give up, wither like a grape and turn into a raisin, and then to roll over. I mean, but think about it. If the answer is I can't do anything until someone empowers me, if the answer is I'm waiting for some kind of mandate to come down from above, I might be waiting a long time, and I can play that victim card and have brand a V on my head for the rest of my life. Or I can say, what can I do today? What can I do today right now? Because the culture of my team, yeah, it's reflected. There's no doubt we're impacted by the culture of the entire institution, but we can do something special. There's a reason there's a team. There's a reason there's a team lead. What we create here is how we interact with here, and we can play victim, and we can, as leaders, sometimes we model. Yeah, things would be better, but corporate won't let me do this, and corporate won't let me do that. So we can carefully play the victim card and excuse ourselves from our stewardship, or we can step up and be culture warriors and say, you're not on my team, not here, not now, not ever, and decide what we can do. You know, there's a great book, and anyone who really wants to respond to your question, It's a little book called Gung Ho. It's kind of one of those Spencer Johnson books. You can read it in about an hour, and it talks about this pocket of excellence, this team. Then in the worst performing factory, they had the best performing team. This team outperformed its like team in the other 10 factories, but it was in the worst performing factory. So it really illustrates that there can be a pocket of excellence. We don't need to wait for some mandate or blessing or policy change before we can have a positive change on our culture. So I'd say get busy, read a book, and try it, put something into practice.
Cool. So what would you say, I mean, you talk about intentionality, and the importance of that. What would you say are some very practical steps that someone could take into the workplace tomorrow and put into place that starts to build culture? Because it just doesn't happen, right?
It doesn't. Well, there's a couple things that answer your question, Keith. It's a good question. So something that anyone listening to could do right now. So, man, what if I don't even have a staff meeting? What could I do tomorrow? Well, tomorrow you could go to work excited. Your energy, right, causes a ripple effect on the world around you. So you could go a little bit more enthusiastic. But so am I just going to act happy? Well, you're not going to act happy. You can act the way you want to be, and soon you become the way you act. You can be and become happy. Is that going to have an impact? Yeah, well, I'm not going to do that because no one will get it. They'll think I'm weird. And okay, well, great. Then just live your miserable life. In other words, you've got to consider what happens if I do nothing.
Right.
If nothing changes, then nothing changes. So do something. But we're just not acting happy to act happy. We're doing it with intentionality. We're saying, I know that what I do and how I am, how I behave, how I speak, how I react, all those things have an influence on my environment. So I'm going to have a more intentional, deliberate influence on my environment. So let's be specific now. Let's channel this in a very positive way. So all the research tells us that one of the most significant aspects of a positive, powerful culture is the aspect of a culture that's in a sense of growth. That any culture that somehow creates or nurtures personal growth and development as a core value wins.
Yep.
They're going to have a more powerful culture. Well, a 5-year research paper of 20,000 managers asked this question. Since personal growth and development is so key to positive culture and positive aspect, and not only that, but a healthy workplace and a healthy individual,
Right.
higher white blood cell count.
Yep.
But if that's so important, what's the number one behavior a leader can demonstrate to inspire growth and development in their people? And the answer was, the number one thing that you and I can do to inspire growth in our teams is to be engaged in growth ourselves. The number one thing we can do, it's kind of like kids that read the best come generally from parents who read to their kids.
Yeah.
So if it's happening there, then it has an influence on people around it. So what does that look like for you and I? So let's get specific. So does that mean if I read more books at home that my team's going to read more books? Maybe. But it's going to be much more likely if I find myself and my team go, hey guys, I was reading this last night about leadership and about management and about da-da-da. And can I share it with you? And now when you open that book in front of your team and you're reading to your team from that book and they see and feel your excitement and enthusiasm, well, enthusiasm is contagious. So what's the enthusiasm for? Enthusiasm for reading and learning. So enthusiasm is contagious. Enthusiasm for learning is contagious. Enthusiasm for reading can become contagious.
Yeah.
So that's a very deliberate way. And it might sound soft skill, but the research says these soft skills are some of the hardest skills in the world because we're just not willing to go first sometimes.
Right.
So we let
it takes courage.
Yeah, it takes
courage and some vulnerability to step out and lead. Right?
But the other positive thing is, if I open up this book with you and say, God, can I just share this with you? This is so important. I'm so excited about it. I want to share it with you. What I'm really saying is, this is important to me. I'm sharing it with you. I'm really saying that you're important to me. Right. This is important. You're important. I want to share this important thing that I love with someone who's important that I love. And that's a very powerful cultural tool.
Yeah. What about, this is a question we often get from leaders, what about the cynic or the pessimist on my team? I just can't overcome them. What are your thoughts? What's your advice to leaders that are dealing with negativity in the team environment?
Again, I'm going to go Dr. Phil here a second.
Okay.
What happens? What happens if you don't? Yeah. And I've heard this, Keith, you asked me a great question. Because how many leaders have I heard say, yeah, Kirk, these are some good ideas and everything, but you don't know the kind of people I've got on my team.
Right.
Darth Vader, baby Hitler. I mean, my team, I got Captain Cynic over there and Susie Sarcastic. They're all on my team. And you don't know the kind of team I have. And, well, again, think about this for a second. What we're finding is leaders that really are willing to lead with that statement, they say that they really resent, that they would be better leaders if, and they're going to be leaders when they don't have those kind of people on their team. So they're kind of carefully hiding behind it. Yeah. They're actually using these people as scapegoats, and because of someone, they're not really leading anyone.
Right.
So everyone gets robbed because of someone, and we say to leaders, hey, listen, that cynic, they didn't wake up this morning and say, I'm the team cynic. In fact, the cynic doesn't call themselves a cynic. The cynic calls themselves a realist. And the realist is actually using the very language that the leader should adopt to use with them to move forward with positive change. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So the realist says, I call it like I said, I tell it like it is. So you sit down, you be the realist, and I'll say, hey, Keith, I want to implement some change in the team meeting and stuff like that. They're not the kind of thing that you're going to like. But I've always come to respect that you kind of call it like you see it. You kind of tell it like it is. Remember Keith the cynic?
Well, I've actually been called that before.
Okay, well, there it is. So it's very natural.
Just talk to my wife.
So then I say, well, Keith, so I'm going to call it like I said. I'm going to tell it like it is.
Right.
What we're going to do at our next staff meeting is not going to be your cup of tea. It's not going to be something you like or you think really has value based on my past experience with you. Your tendency in these situations is to roll your eyes and poo-poo. So what I'm going to do right now is I want to come to an agreement with you. I'm going to call it like I see it. I'm going to do this activity. I'm going to totally excuse you from participating in the activity. I'll respect your right to not participate in the activity if you'll respect me as a leader to lead the activity. And what I mean by respect is without making one of your famous comments or your famous eye rolls. Can we have that agreement?
Yes.
Boom. Now you might say, well, God, he was a little bit too agreeable. No, but the thing is, he didn't agree to something. I didn't ask him for something that I didn't give him something first. I said, hey, I'm going to call it like I see it. I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm going to respect your decision not to participate if you respect my decision to lead the activity without one of your famous comments. And I was very specific. I wasn't condescending. I wasn't demeaning. I wasn't dismissive. I wasn't derogatory. In other words, it was a respectful conversation had in the language of the realist. And so we came to agreement. Boom, done. I'll hold him accountable to that agreement, and he'll be happy to be held accountable. What we hear from leaders that we use this type of coaching with is this. Very quickly, almost even in that very meeting, guess who chooses to participate? as soon as you tell them they don't have to.
The realist.
Yeah, they play along, as they said. And then if you will, again, harness the power of traditions and rituals, by the 5th or 6th or 7th time you're having this type of meeting or event, they're fully engaged. And then pretty soon they're leading the event itself.
Very good. Well, Kurt, thank you so much. Your energy is great, your wisdom, your insight. I know the folks here at CalPERS took a lot away, and thank you for spending some time with us.
Well, thank you, Continuity Consulting, where you know that culture counts, and I love being a part of your event. Thanks much.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.